What's going on YouTube? It is Repulse back in another video. In today's video, we have our Chelsea news video of the day. There was a lot that kicked off this morning for me, especially I know it's around 6 p.m., 5 p.m. for y'all. Um, but there was a lot that kicked off today, so I just say we jump straight into it. To begin, Mudryk has been charged by the FA for doping and can face up to a 4-year ban after testing positive for performance enhancement substance in meldonium. I know Joey Knight has a really good video based on meldonium, how it can be something that you don't even realize was included, but it's something that comes up in the tests. But yeah, Mudryk 4-year ban. Really sad to see because he was starting to look like he was coming into his own. Thinking about the Forest game, thinking about the Conference League, he looked like he was beginning to actually finish his dinner, um, put the ball in the back of the net, as well as create for others. So it's sad to see that it came at that time, which obviously his performance was probably enhanced due to those things. Um, so yeah, he um, is done for 4 years. So for Chelsea, it's pretty much, what Maresca said. We have three wingers right now. We have Tyreek George, we have Nani Madueke, we have Pedro Neto. Mudryk's basically just out the equation. Really sad to see. I think his contract gets terminated. Um, yeah, it's just really not a great sight. I think everyone was really hopeful for Mudryk when he first came to the club, and it's sad to see that his time results in a 4-year ban and likely his contract just being terminated. Um, I wish him all the best. I know he can't play football for 4 years. So yeah, I mean, all the best to him as a person. Just sad that it didn't work out here. And it won't work out for football for 4 years. He'll be around like 27, so it won't be the end of the world when he comes back. Obviously, hasn't had a game in 4 years when he comes back, but just sad to see. I wish him the best as a person, but really screwed us over in terms of transfer fee and his contributions to the club. I think he was starting to mold into his own player, but done for 4 years. It's time to terminate the contract and move on, basically. And moving on to a target that we were linked to earlier in the window, but then it came back more today. Felipe Silva says that Chelsea and Newcastle are competing to sign João Pedro and are preparing offers. Many details. Oh no, sorry, I don't need to read that. Just that Chelsea and Newcastle are competing to sign João Pedro and are preparing offers. Pretty much the main thing of this. I think it came to a surprise to many because it seemed like we cooled our interest on him. It didn't really seem like we were that in for him. Um, Seemed like we were more in for the Morgan Rogers or the Xavi Simmons or the Ekatikes. The versatile forwards is what I'm saying. Those three seemed like they were above João Pedro in the pecking order. But then further, it was backed up by Fabrizio Romano, who said that understand Chelsea had Brighton's João Pedro as one of the targets on their shortlist for the summer. He's highly appreciated. Initial contacts took place to be informed on the situation as João can leave this summer. Newcastle already approached Brighton this week. So as you can see, for Chelsea, it's really just he's on the short list. He's a target for us. We're gonna speak to Brighton, see about the conditions of the deal, but Newcastle are the ones actually pushing for the deal, approaching Brighton, um, and that was. Oh, excuse me, I did not mean to click. Yeah. So basically, Newcastle are in for João Pedro. Um, they're pushing for the deal. We're pretty much just finding out the terms and conditions to see if it's a deal we want to make. And that was pretty much what Bobby Vincent said, that um, it sounds like it would be between João Pedro and Hugo Ekitike, for who becomes that versatile forward for us. Able to play at the 10, the wings, I guess like false 9, not true 9. And I think João Pedro could do a job here. It's not that I don't think he's a good player. I don't know. I wouldn't really spend 60 million on João Pedro. He doesn't really seem to have that much potential, but if he comes through the door, it's not really something I complain about. I think he is very talented. Um, I think he does have a little bit of growth left, not too much. But there is definitely some growth to be had for João Pedro in terms of attitude as well, mainly. But Hugo Ekitike, I think, could be one of the best players in the Prem in the world if he develops the way we think he is going to, and to a baby Isaac. But is if he plays the 9, and I don't know if he'll play the 9 if he comes through the door. But I could see him being a second striker to lap both of these. Playing that inverted left wing, letting a midfielder move out to the left, them cut in, be a shadow striker to an extent, an inverted winger at that point. But I do want touchline wingers on the left, because we already know we have like our inverted winger on the right with Esteval, with Nani, with Pedro, all cutting in on their left foot, with Palmer kind of overlapping from that 10 over to the right wing. So I don't know if that versatile forward, that left wing 10, really fits our mold, because they're just going to cut in, or they're not going to play that touchline with that Mariska wants. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if the club wants one of those profiles, we'll bring one in. As you can see, these are two targets right in front of us. Um, it's just, yeah, I don't really know. I don't see the tactical fit, but I'm sure Maresca has a plan, and that's probably why we're in for one of those people from those positions. So yeah, moving on again to Fabrizio saying that Chelsea made a call for Ekatike 3 weeks ago, but Frankfurt asked for 100 million euros, which is too much for Chelsea, basically saying it's way above our valuation. So now João Pedro is now one of the options. Newcastle are working on the deal for João Pedro, which pretty much backs up the point that I said earlier that they're actually pushing for the deal. And Chelsea just added him to the options on the short list. I think he was already there, but just reassure that João Pedro is someone we are looking at, learning about the conditions of the deal while Newcastle are actually trying to figure out how to do the deal. And then Ekatike is someone that we do want, we are in for, but again, that £100 million price tag is way too steep for us to make a deal for. So we're pretty much just adding João Pedro to take that spot of Hugo Ekatike until Frankfurt decide to finally drop their price tag of 100 million euros, which is around 84 million pounds. Which, yeah, I agree, way too much for a player like that. That's not world class. Can be world class, but is not world class yet. So you know, I wouldn't pay that 84 million for Ekatike, but I also wouldn't pay that 60 million for Pedro. So two deals that I like both of the players a lot. I'm not speaking down on the players. I'm speaking down on the fee. I don't think I'd pay those fees for either. Um, if Ekatike was 60, I'd pay 60 for Ekatike all day of the week. If Pedro was around 50, 45, I'd pay that. I think 60 is a little steep for Pedro, and I think 84 is way too steep for Hugo Ekatike. I think the highest I'd pay for each is 55 and 70. Obviously 70 for Ekatike, 55 for Pedro. Um, I just think the fees right now are way too steep. And if you could do a 45 plus 10, a 50 plus 10, and then also on the Ekatike front, 65 plus 10, with hard add-ons, I'd be happy to see that come through the door. But I don't think the asking prices of Brighton and Frankfurt are realistic at the 84 and 60 million pound fees. So, I like both options. I do really like both players. I think they could come in and be impactful players to Chelsea, regardless of where they play. If they play that left wing 10 or if they play as a striker, I think they will be impactful players. I know Pedro's Premier League proven, um, but not really proven. He isn't that great statistically in the Prem. Besides penalties, he's good at taking penalties, I guess. Ekatike, a lot more credibility to his name. Had a really good breakout season last season, so I understand why his fee would be higher. Pedro, on the other hand, you can see that there's a player there. It's pretty obvious that there is a player there, but I don't know if that 60 million is really worth it. He is quality. Don't get me wrong, he is a quality player. I wouldn't be mad if we brought him through the door. I'd be a little skeptical of the 60 million pound mark. Just like I'd be skeptical of Ekatike at the 84 pound mark, but it doesn't seem like we're budging on those price tag options. So pretty pleased to see the board is firm with where they're standing. So yeah, Newcastle is working on João Pedro. We're pretty much looking at Ekatike, but just waiting for that price to drop. So that causes João Pedro to be added to the list, which is what Fabrizio says here. Moving on to Jane Bino Gittens. Fabrizio says that Chelsea and Borussia Dortmund remain in contact for Jamie Gittens with a new bid to follow. Gittens only wants Chelsea and BVB are aware of his decision. Now up to the clubs, talks are underway again. Basically, a new bid is coming soon. We'll probably expect to hear we go sometime after the Club World Cup or after the group stage. I know he can't be registered because he was already registered for Dortmund. Came on yesterday, played completely out of position, so obviously you're not going to look great when you're playing central attacking midfield or when you're a touchline left winger. So yeah, can't really discredit him for the 13 minutes he got, which weren't all that great, but again, out of position. Can't really fault him for the manager's misplacement of him. But it seems like a new bid from Chelsea will come in. I know Dortmund value him at 47 million pounds. Chelsea are probably going to stick around the 42. They'll probably find a way to do 40 plus 5. I'd say Borussia Dortmund would accept. Lower base fee probably play lower base fee, and you probably pay more upfront. Excuse me, and then you have easy add-ons to get it up to 45. Um, Rather than paying all 47. Um, if we do pay 47, I want to see it on our own terms with installments spread out across years. Um, yeah, so it's really up to the clubs to find a way to pretty much figure out a way to pay. I think the fee is pretty reasonable between the two. I think there is probably a gentleman's agreement there between Gittens and Dortmund, and Chelsea understand that, but they're just figuring out the way to pay. And Dortmund weren't happy with that. That's why he didn't come in on the first mini window transfer deadline day. Um, but talks are underway between the clubs. I expect that here we go for Gittens. Maybe not in the next coming days, but definitely before the beginning of the Premier League season. Um, so yeah, moving on again to Jamie Bino Gittens. Bobby Vincent says that Chelsea are set to make a new and improved offer to Borussia Dortmund for Jamie Gittens. Talks are ongoing with Borussia Dortmund after the initial £42 million offer was turned down last week, which it was on deadline day. They were giving us a Club World Cup tax. They knew we wanted him through the door before then. Jamie Gittens really wants to move. Um, so yeah, I think if we put that £42 million back up, they might accept that, to be honest, because there's no more Club World Cup tax. I could see us dropping it down to 40, and there still be some discussions, maybe not any rejections. Obviously, they can stand firm and say, "Will you bid 42? Just give us 42." But then we can pretty much say, "There's no more Club World Cup tax. We don't need him for the tournament anymore. We can't register him. You pretty much took him away from us." So, I do think that fee can really go down, and I think that'd be a bargain for Jamie Gittens. I think he is a really good player if that fee goes down to £35 million or somewhere around there. Um, he's a really good player regardless of the fee, but I'm just saying in terms of a value deal, the more that we're able to bargain for, the more the deal looks better. So yeah, I'm happy to see that we are back in talks with Dortmund. Obviously, I made a video showcasing why I feel like Jamie Gittens, excuse me, is best fit for Chelsea compared to the likes of a Malik Fofana, who we were linked to by L'Equipe, David Ornstein, and Fabrizio said, yes, but Jamie Gittens is still our priority. There's a video up on my page if you want to see the comparison between the two and why I think Jamie Gittens is best fit for us. So yeah, go watch that if you're intrigued. But yeah, I think we can pretty much stay around that £40 million fee, and Dortmund would accept, and then we get the player that we wanted throughout the entire summer. I know Maresca really wants him, so back the manager in a sense, and get him for a relatively good deal. Only 20, already produced goals, already has experience in the Champions League. Can't really go wrong if you do end up signing him. So yeah, that is Jamie Gittens. Seems like we're about to make a new offer to Borussia Dortmund. And maybe we do get a here we go sometime soon, but the here we go doesn't really mean anything when he can't come through the door until after the Club World Cup. Moving on to other attacking options, Bobby Vincent says that another attacker that Chelsea have shown interest in this summer is Xavi Simons of RB Leipzig. I think this is pretty well known. I think everyone knows that we were in for or we're gonna bring in one of Xavi Simons, Mohamed Kudus, João Pedro, Hugo Ekitike, or Morgan Rogers for that hybrid role. Xavi Simons fits that left wing 10. Um, yeah, I'd be happy to see him come through the door. Obviously, uber talented. I think everyone at Chelsea really likes the player. So yeah, happy to see that we have an interest in him. I think the fee would be around a João Pedro fee, around the £60 million mark. And I'd rather pay that for Simmons than pay that for Pedro. Um, so yeah, happy to see us linked to him. If that fee is around 60 and we don't want to go in for Ekatike, if we think the Rogers deal is too steep, which we'll get into next, um, then I think Simmons could be a valuable option. Obviously, Kudus, I think it's most likely to end up being a swap deal if we do get him from West Ham, because no one's paying that £85 million release clause. Sorry to break it to you, West Ham fans. Just no one's going to pay that. It's way too expensive for him. Um, but yeah, I think if Simmons is around the £60 million mark, we should go in for him, especially if the other deals are too steep. So yeah, happy to see that we have an interest in him. Hope there's a verbal inquiry or some discussions underway with Xavi Simmons, because I think he can play the left wing 10, but he can also play the right wing. He could play the Enzo role. Just really good cover at a multitude of positions. Maybe not the striker position, but that three behind the striker as well as Enzo crashing the box, I think he could be very good at. So I'd really like us to go in for Xavi Simons, especially if the fee is around that João Pedro fee. And lastly, another one of the attacking options we have, well, Nicholas Jackson, but also ties into Morgan Rogers. Simon Phillips says that Aston Villa. I don't know what I just said there, but we'll just forget that. Aston Villa are ready to enter discussions to try and tempt Nicholas Jackson away from Chelsea and reunite him with Unai Emery. Um, the reason why Morgan Rogers is up here is because I think everyone's thinking the same thing we are. If Villa need money, if Villa still want players, obviously to compete, then we can send them Nicholas Jackson. We can send him 30 million and probably get Morgan Rogers in return. And I think most Chelsea fans would be in for that, especially if we do get another striker in this window. Um, Obviously, Nicholas Jackson in competition with Liam Delap. I expect him to lose out on the starting job at some point in the season. I don't know immediately in game week 1, but Delap looked great. Nicholas Jackson looked great. They both seem to feed off the competition they have amongst each other. But I think if this comes up, Chelsea aren't going to say no. I think we'll pay the 30 million for Morgan Rogers, get Nicholas Jackson off the books. Essentially, he's a good player. It's not really getting off the books, but it's negotiation. If Villa really want Nicholas Jackson and we really want Morgan Rogers, and Morgan Rogers seems to want to be here, then I think it's a deal we should look at the end of the day because I think we should bring in another nine. Um, and I don't know if Ekatike could be that nine or not, but definitely should be in for someone else, especially if we offload Nicholas Jackson, who I think we're open to selling. I'm not for sure on that, but I think we are open to selling. Um, and I think it'd be perfect to do a swap deal to bring him back to Aston Villa to get Morgan Rogers through the door, who we know we all want, but we just need the opportunity to arise. So, yeah, that is Nicholas Jackson potentially leaving the club and hopefully bringing in a player that I think every single Chelsea fan does want in Morgan Rogers to play that left wing 10 role, but can also play the 9. But yeah, that is all the news for today. Thank y'all so much for watching. There was a lot that kicked off. I expect a lot more to kick off because the window opened 2 days ago. So, maybe there's some players that try to get brought in for the knockout stages of the Club World Cup, or just looking forward to the Premier League season, which the schedule dropped today, and a video will be out where it's obviously a joke, but I'm predicting every single game that Chelsea have this season to just see how many I get right based off gut instinct. But yeah, that is everything. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did like the video, please be sure to like and subscribe. A little goes a long way. We're on the road to 50 subscribers and then hopefully 100 and then so on and so forth. Just really trying to grow the channel. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. And as always, it's Repulse and I'm out. Peace.